going from the darkest side of your life, a lot of times it leads to a rebirth.
In a way, you have a lot more information at your disposal, which makes it easier. But you also have a lot more information at your disposal, which makes it tougher.
In a world where we get what we pay for,
yeah.
That's why you hire me. The hardest part about this one, Jeff, is you have to leave your ego at the door.
Of course, I know exactly what they need.
Right. Yep.
But they may actually see something different.
Correct.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Pick Now podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Munn. Today, we have someone who's not only an entrepreneur and has his own entrepreneurial journey, but he's a book author. He helps people with their sales conversations. So if you are an entrepreneur, if you are the founder of a company, Jake's going to have a lot of valuable information to share in terms of how you show up for your potential customer or client. Jake Stahl, welcome to the Pick Now podcast.
Oh, Jeff, thanks for having me. This is quite an honor, and I do appreciate it.
So let's go back to your entrepreneurial origin story, because you haven't always been the book author, the consultant, the speaker. Like you had a story before that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So like most people, I was in corporate America for a number of years. I had tried doing an entrepreneurial journey early in my early 20s. I started a small computer consulting business, and I knew nothing about how to run a business. So it didn't last very long. But I joined corporate America. And after a number of years, I became a sales trainer. And that to me is kind of where the journey became. Many people in life don't find what they love. And I found what I loved early. And I was fortunate enough to find it. And it led me down a lot of great roads. But yeah, like everybody, corporate America journey. One point I was separated from the corporation I was with for 16 years. And
oh, wow. Yeah.
That was my starting gun for becoming an
I went through a couple of versions of that. One where I landed on my feet in the same organization, and one which led to my becoming a coach. So totally get that. What was it about sales training? Like, tell me what lights you up about that? What was it like? Oh, I've found my place.
Sales training to me is more about communication than it is selling.
Yeah.
You know, I've always been fascinated by the way people talk to each other and relate to one another, and how dialects can be so different or slang can change over the years. But the thing that started me, Jeff, and this is going to sound really weird, the thing that started me is I hate how are you? Hate it. When people say, how are you to each other, I think to myself, what a waste of time. Yeah. Neither of you care.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to open up and say, well, Jake, I had a surgery 3 weeks ago and it was really touch and go for a while. People are just going to say, fine, thanks. How are you? So I always thought, why don't we just skip by that? But then the fascinating thing came, Jeff, when I realized it was conditioning. Yeah. And I thought to myself, what if we break that conditioning and force a real conversation from the word go? And that led into a career where I was number one for 2 international pharmaceutical companies and then became a trainer for a third. But it was all in an effort to break conditioning of conversations.
Do you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert or an ambivert?
Oh, I'm a clear extrovert.
Okay. Because the reason that I asked the question is I have this theory, which you are disproving. Like I'm the same way. It's like, oh my God, skip the bullshit. Like, let's get to the real conversation. Yeah. And I tend to think I'm ambivert leaning toward introvert. And I thought it was my introversion, but I'm glad to hear that extroverts are just as impatient with that. Cause it's just like, and it's funny because you said, how are you? Fine. Now, what I've noticed over the past, decade or so is that conversation has changed from how are you to fine to how are you busy. It's like, it's this badge of honor, right?
Yeah.
This humble brag about how indispensable we are.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because I'm married to the most amazing woman on the planet. And her first opening to anybody is, how are you? And so she's kind of my exception to the rule. It's okay if she says it.
Yeah.
But if I hear a salesperson say it, like if I'm coaching at a company and the sales team starts off with, hey, how are you? It's like, stop. We're not doing that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I give keynote talks, that's my homework assignment to people. Never say, hi, how are you to anyone ever again. Just don't.
So what is if you have a go-to or a series of go-tos, what are they?
Hey, it's great to see you. Glad I ran into you. Hey, thanks for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. Yeah. But my favorite is, I was really looking forward to talking to you today. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah.
It's just really different. And the funny thing is, Jeff, people are used to hearing me say this. People who know me for years, they're used to this.
Yeah.
And yet I was just on the phone with a friend that I've had for multiple years. And we got on the phone and I said, God, I was looking forward to talking to you today. And he goes, really? And it's like, you should be used to this from me.
Right.
But it strikes people as so odd because it's not the hi, how are you?
Right.
That it really opens up authenticity. It's amazing what it does.
I noticed when you said that, I felt good. It was like, wow.
Right.
How interesting. Like, I just noticed there was this opening in my chest and this tell me more. Wow. Like Jake wants to spend time with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exciting. You know, people who own a dog always comment that that's like the most unconditional love.
Yeah.
You get home, you're upset, and the dog's like, oh, I'm so glad to see you.
Yeah.
Well, I thought, if I can genuinely be glad to see somebody, and I always am, God, why
always,
not?
Come
why
on,
not
Jake.
be the human dog?
Always, come on. Always, come on.
No, there are some people that I have to fake it very, very, very well.
Yeah. Okay, so back to your journey. You develop this expertise and have this level of success in the pharmaceutical industry. You become a trainer. Yep. What is the moment that you say, "Hey, I think I want to do this on my own"?
A lot of it was caused by the separation from the one company I was with. They were doing a lot of downsizing, getting rid of a lot of people. And I made it to the second or third wave. And then it was, Jake, sorry, your time has come. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm out. So I started doing side gigs. So I couldn't afford to just cut ties and just say, okay, I'll do it on my own from now. So I started to do side gigs. Made some really great contacts.
So did you get, after that layoff, did you get another job and then have a side gig in the context of that job? Okay. So it was a little more gradual toe in the water kind of thing. Yeah. When you're in corporate America and you get that big paycheck, you can't just go from 1,000 miles an hour to zero. And even though I got a good separation, I was paranoid enough to go, I don't know how long it's going to take me to get a job or for this business to take off. So I better go out and grab something. So I did. Yeah. And then, so there's that stage of the, hey, I'm going to do a side gig. Yeah. And then how did you know, okay, it's time? Several of the side gigs wanted more and more of my time. Mm-hmm. And it got to the point where I said to my wife, I said, I need to just separate out from the full-time thing. And I need to take a chance on this. Mm-hmm. And, God love her. She was like, okay, if I have to support us for a while, I'll do that while you get things to take off. But I had a couple of gigs that were bringing in decent income. And I think my biggest fear, Jeff, was that I wasn't going to get enough gigs to make enough income. Oh, yeah, sure. But the reality was I didn't go the normal route people go. I think a lot of people go the route of networking and constantly trying to bring in new business. I took a different route. I went for a referral route. Every person I networked with, can you refer me? And then every job I got, I said, can you refer me? Mm-hmm. And through that, now, God, 13, 14 years later, all my business is through referrals. I don't do any biz dev at all. People just have been referring to me. Yeah. Yeah. I went kind of a similar route, although it was probably more accidental than the way you described it. It just ended up happening that there was this small group of people that just kept referring me work. And so it's like, oh, I should make sure I stay in touch with these people. Right.
Put them on the Christmas list.
Yeah, but it was kind of accidental. And I definitely recommend that. I mean, I'm in the coaching world, so I definitely recommend that to other coaches. Like, who is your like superstar referrer? The person who, like, oh, you need to talk with Jake, that person.
Yeah. And the thing I found amazing was, there's that old parable about the king and the peasant said, the peasant saves the king's daughter and the king goes, what do you want from me? And he said, all I really want is 1 grain of wheat for every spot on a chessboard and just double it each time.
Yeah.
And the king, being super good at math, goes, yeah, that sounds okay. How much could that be? Well, the actual answer is like 6 billion pounds or 60 tons of wheat when you're done. So I took that approach. For everybody who referred me, I asked those people for 2 referrals, and it just kept building out. And eventually it got to the point where it was my own referral network. But it took time, a lot of time.
Sure. Well, that compounding is really fast at the end and really slow at the beginning.
Yeah. It really was slow in the beginning.
So how long did it take you to move from, well, I'm going to talk about 2 stages. One was like side gig to I'm going to go out on my own. And I go out on my own to like, yeah, this is like a comfortable, sustainable business. I've made it, and we know as entrepreneurs that's not a actual destination, but at least that feeling of like, oh yeah, I think I can make this work.
Yeah, it was a couple of years of doing side gigs. Because in the beginning I was insecure about pricing, so I was lowballing pricing to see if I could get the gig. And when you finally fill your own shoes, you finally get big enough to fit in the shoe you've been wearing all those years, and you finally start pricing yourself well. It's amazing how things change. But for me, Jeff, that was a big confidence thing. I had just come off a very rough phase in my life, like really rough phase. So my confidence level was at an all-time low. And I'd undervalue my services in the hopes that somebody would go, wow, that's cheap. Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
But then there got to be the point where it's like I'm working umpteen hours for an eensy-weensy amount of revenue. And that's when the tide started to shift. So one day I took a chance on a client and they asked me what I wanted, and I 10x'd my price.
Wow.
And well, that's how low I was charging people.
Okay.
So I 10x my price, and the person's like, yeah, okay. And I remember thinking to myself, crap, I could have asked for more.
How much money have I been leaving on the table, right?
Yeah. It's like when you're negotiating and you come up with this really good deal and somebody says yes immediately. And instead of being happy, you're thinking, shit, I missed it.
Exactly. Yeah. I always want my potential client to say, wow, that's more than I thought it would be. Okay. Right. Yeah. Like if they're not, I want them to question it a little bit because I want them to be committed.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it serves me as well, but it also serves them. Like if they think it's too cheap, they're not going to take it seriously.
You're 100% accurate. And I wish I learned that earlier. That was something that you learn just through time. But yes, I agree with you 1,000%. So
do you want to say any more about how the difficult time influenced you? Like what was this your dark night of the soul, Jake? Like what was, do you mind if I pry a little bit? And you don't have to tell me anything you don't want to tell me. But.
I taught the martial arts for 20 years, and that's not without injuries. And so I had sustained 3 pretty good knee injuries over the years. And after my 3rd surgery, I got hooked on opioids, which became a long, ugly spiral over about 2 years. And I became addicted to them. I couldn't get off them. I wound up just losing virtually everything. I lost my marriage, lost my house, went through rehab. So I always say if the basement had a basement, that's where I was.
Wow. So were you employed at this time? Like where was this in your corporate?
Yeah. So you were I was employed, but the company I was working for could see that I was not living up to expectations, let's say.
Yeah.
And at one point we agreed to just part ways, which we did. But that being said, going from the darkest side of your life, a lot of times it leads to a rebirth. Yeah. And it really did. And it was at that point that they had separated me, and I thought, now's the time. So I've since remarried. Like I said, most wonderful woman on the planet. My business is better than it's ever been. I'm speaking more than I have. Got a podcast like you, and you were wonderful enough to be a guest on the podcast.
Yeah, it was fun.
The book I just wrote has done really well. But the lesson is, and the one thing I'd like to impart to anybody is, whatever you're going through, you'll get out of it. And it's not going to be great. It's going to suck. That journey back is hard. But what you find on the other side is just staggering and wonderful. And when you have that complete blackness as a baseline,
right,
everything looks good.
Right. When you've got nothing left to lose, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, my fallback position is, hey, I didn't make as much this month as I did last month, but I'm not in rehab.
Right. Well, I've talked to so many people who have some version of that as part of their journey. What do you think for you is the thing that you learned about yourself, about the world, that you couldn't have learned any other way?
Here's what I learned. And thank you for asking this, because there was one event that to me changed everything. I remember reading in, I guess it was People magazine or Us or something like that, that a star had just died from overdosing. And the pouring out of sympathy and well wishes was staggering and wonderful. But while that was happening to that star and their family, people were pointing at me going, derelict, you're the people we warn other people about. You're not right. Wow. You should have known better. So the thing that hit me was, so why does a star get a mulligan? And I'm the guy that you don't want your kids to hang around. How does that work? And the thing that hit me, Jeff, was it had nothing to do with me. It had to do with how I showed up. So it's not the words I say. I could tell people all the time, I've been through rehab, I'm better. And they're just going to double down on the story they had of me. But when I started to understand the way they processed, the way they viewed my presence and the way I showed up in a room, because that was the only difference between me and a star, right? They had notoriety. They had this omnipresence about them that even though people hadn't met them and only saw the fake them on the screen, they loved them.
Yeah.
So I knew it wouldn't be any different for me. And that's really when I came up with the beginning features of STRATA, which I wrote my book about.
Right.
That it's more about who you are and how you show up than what you say.
Well, and that's the signal part, right?
Yes, that's the signal. Exactly right.
I read it.
Yeah.
I mean, I love where you're coming from in that book. And I think I've seen some other books that are on similar topics, but they're not as specific, I want to say, as what you lay out in this book. Like, there is a process. It's clear that you've done the work, that you've had the experience, that you can tell the war stories around how every one of these stages works in this strata framework. And the book is called Own the Room. As is your podcast. And I love that idea. And I think there is an implicit idea within that title that Own the Room is about how you show up and who you show up as. That's just like where I go immediately. It's not about your expertise or your pitch or how many times you stumble across your words as you say it. It's about, it's something more essential. Like, can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I mean, I think every viewer of this podcast has had those times where it's like, yeah, I wasn't on my game.
Yeah, let me share a really fascinating study that was done. They took a group of college students and they showed them some films of professors speaking, a variety of professors, but there was no audio. So all they could see was the professor gesticulating and walking around the room. They showed 2 to 10 seconds of each professor, and they had the students check off boxes next to descriptors of what they thought of the professor. That was group A. They took group B, which was students who actually had those professors for a full semester, had listened to all their lectures, and they gave them the same sheet and said, check off descriptors of what you think of this professor. The astounding piece is the people who just watched 2 to 10 seconds and had no verbiage, and the people who were with them the entire semester, the results were almost identical.
Wow.
So what that says is the way you're perceived without your words is a pretty damn good indicator of how you're perceived with your words.
Yeah.
And they've shown this time and time again in multiple studies. I won't bore you with other study results, but that one's fascinating to me because it just shows that the way a human does thin slicing, and that's the psychological term for judging someone in the first 2 to 10 seconds, the way someone does thin slicing is not only uncannily accurate, but then our brain goes into confirmation bias mode.
Yeah, so that's now, what I was going to add. Exactly.
So now I am going to continue to justify my ruling on that person. And if anything contradictory comes into my head about that, I'm going to dismiss it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I almost think that part of it is even more powerful. It's like, this is why first impressions are always correct. Not because they're actually correct, but because everything after that point, you filter through your first impression.
Yeah. And you look for spots to justify it.
Yeah.
And, you know, you think about, and this is really a kind of a morbid turn here, but you think about a serial killer. You remember Ted Bundy. Yeah. Everybody said he's charming, he's easy to talk to. So you think about his victims in the first 2 to 10 seconds, charming, easy to talk to, I like him. Yeah. So anything he did after that, the brain was constantly fighting, saying, no, he's a nice guy. He's not going to do this.
Right.
So the thin slicing is huge. And we talk about that a little bit in the book too. So how the signal means so much and how what you trigger in somebody means everything.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to jump into the book, but I also want to go back, and just make sure we cover the full range of your entrepreneurial journey. Yeah. And was there a time when you thought, other than at the beginning, other than those first 2 years, where you thought, oh, I'm not sure this is going to work, or I need to make a shift, or I need to do something different, or I need to have a hard conversation with my wife, or whatever, you know, those moments where it's like, you know, you need to make a change and you're not exactly sure what it is, but you just have to kind of do it on faith and hope it works.
Yeah, I can honestly say, Jeff, I still do that to this day. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, what time is it? I think I just did that 2 hours ago. Yeah, there were a lot of times. You know, I started Orchestrate a year ago, and that was a huge venture for me. And
how is that different from what you were doing before that?
So before I was just doing individual coaching. So I would coach just individuals and corporations, which I still do.
Yeah.
But then I took social psychology and behavioral psychology and neurolinguistic programming and hook point theory, which I've been teaching for years. And I built that into a SaaS product called Orchestrate.
Okay.
And so that was one of those times where it's like, do I want to coach the rest of my life? Do I really want to be a consultant the rest of my life? I need to build a legacy.
Right.
So I started to put the company together. But Jeff, I still do that to this day. I still question things. And, you know, I always joke with people, the movie that plays in your head during the day is a romance and adventure. And the movie that plays at 4 a.m. is always a horror slasher flick.
Oh my gosh. I had some of that going on at 4 a.m. this morning. Like literally, I totally resonate with that. It's like, why is it that I'm so good at catastrophizing at 4 a.m.? Yeah.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of reasons that's the case. Cortisol, hormones, the whole 9 yards, but boy, it cripples all of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, especially people who are, I think, trying to create something a little different and putting ourselves out there and maybe aren't. I mean, I know there are a lot of people, and we're wired this way, so I don't mean this in a disparaging way, but there are a lot of people who hide in a corporate job because it's like hiding in the pack. It's like pack behavior, right?
Yeah.
It's like, if I play it safe, if I don't stand out, I will be taken care of. And of course, we're seeing more and more often that is not the case.
Yeah.
But for a long time it was.
Yeah. I would agree.
Yeah. Okay. So orchestrate. I want to hear more about this, because just speaking completely selfishly, I have thought, like, I have this way of working with people. I have, processes that I use, tools that I use. I am limited in how many people I can serve.
Yeah.
If I'm required in every conversation.
Yeah.
And I know people who've they've trained others to coach in their methodology, and that can work to some extent, but every person's different. So that that doesn't appeal to the control freak side of my personality.
Me too. I don't want anybody speaking for me.
So I'm really fascinated with what you've created. Like, tell me about it. How does it work? Who's your ideal client for this? What does it do?
Yeah. So the idea of Orchestrate is to be that consultant that you need 24/7 for your business development. Mm-hmm. And when I mean business development, I don't mean prospecting. I mean, you've started a business, you talk to prospects, but when it comes to sending an email, creating a marketing piece, your value proposition, an effective elevator pitch, how to network effectively, most people that's the part where they start to slow down. Mm-hmm. After coaching people for 14 years, I can tell you the number of value propositions I've heard that I remember.
Yeah.
Or they've said it to me and I actually knew what they did once they were done telling me.
Right.
Is really a small number.
Yeah.
So I thought the best way I can help people is by creating an app or a SaaS product that they can go into and it can speak for them. And it can use decades worth of behavioral science and social science and neurolinguistic programming and hook point theory to work for them. Mm-hmm. So Orchestrate can do everything from create your messaging to your value prop to your landing pages. It will even role play with you.
Oh, wow. So is there an AI behind this, or how does this?
There is.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So we spent a lot of time developing the instruction set. So I built in things I've learned over my 30 years of training. Mm-hmm. I built in studies and research and all the things that contribute to good copy that's being written. And we put it into this product. But we also put coaching in there. So if, Jeff, you say, I want to write an email to Jake.
Yeah.
Orchestrate can literally research me on the web, form a psychological profile, and then create an email that literally speaks to me exactly the way I process information.
Wow.
And then once it's done writing the email, it'll say, okay, Jeff, what I used was these 7 psychological techniques to make your email more potent. So that way it teaches you as you go. But if I want to talk to somebody, I just demoed it this morning and there was a person they were afraid to talk to. I said, okay, let's profile them. So I had Orchestrate profile the person, and then I had Orchestrate take on the personality of that person, and they role played with that person.
Wow.
Messed up a few times. Orchestrate came back and said, the phrasing you'd want to use is this. Don't use terms like that with this person. So by the time they got on the phone with this person, they were as ready as they were ever going to be. And it does this for everything. You want a picture perfect elevator pitch. It'll create one 5 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, one that's good for networking, one that's good for referrals. and it's all going to be laced with every behavioral trigger that's going to work for you.
Wow. And so what size client are you going after with something like this? Like, what's the price point?
Yeah,
I want to buy it.
We originally designed this for solopreneurs and entrepreneurs because being one myself, I've got a lot of empathy for people that are trying to sell, because most people say, Jake, I hate selling.
Yeah.
So we geared it more towards them. But what we're finding is we're getting larger companies and corporations that are saying, we really need this for our sales team.
Yeah.
We really hate the fact that we only close 20% of our calls. And we hate the sales scripts we're using. So we'll orchestrate do that. And it does. So now we're developing enterprise models, and we developed an API so people can API into it if they need to use it. It now talks to Google and Outlook, so it can actually scan your email to try and find speaking patterns for people. It's
it can read your email
advantage. Yeah.
So if I've got an email from a prospect, and I've got a perfect example I would love to upload into it right now, where there is just so much victim language.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And it's just like, this is just so rich in opportunity. Okay. That is fascinating to me. Do you know of anyone else who has done anything similar? I mean, I know people who have created like, ChatGPT versions of themselves as a coach, for example, but this feels different.
Yeah, because this has all the psychology and NLP built in, plus it's got 30 years of me training through 6 countries and 47 states. It's got a really broad instruction set. And we programmed it in my language with my personality. As a matter of fact, friends of mine who use Orchestrate, they're like, Jake, I can hear you talking when this thing is.
You can put your voice in it.
Well, and speaking of voice, that's the other thing that it does is it will establish a voice profile for you. So that when you write emails, etc., it will sound exactly like you. Nobody will be able to tell it's AI.
Yeah, I've done that with ChatGPT. I've loaded a lot of my own writing into it and said, okay, create drafts or ideas, or like scan for themes, and it's remarkably good. It's not perfect by any means, but it's a huge time saver.
Yeah, and I'm not disparaging GPT, but we get asked a lot the difference between why shouldn't I just use Claude or GPT versus your product. And the fact is, AI is just a large, very personable search engine.
Right.
It goes out. It's like Family Feud. The top answer is the one most people agree on.
Right.
May not be right, but everybody agrees on it. So take the fact that this year, 5 million small businesses will start. At the end of year 1, 40% will be out of business.
Yeah.
At the end of year 5, 90% will be out of business. So you're having GPT or Claude give you the advice that the 40% of people who went out of business in year 1 took. And now you're using that as gospel.
Right.
So the thing that Orchestrate does is it takes what's out there and it runs it through time-tested, rigorously studied techniques to create output that GPT and Claude just can't match.
Yeah. I mean, I've created this little mini kind of walled garden for me within, but it's only a year. Term. It's not 30 years, right?
Yeah.
It's not the same depth at the level of expertise that you have. Yeah. That's fascinating. How's it going?
It's going great. The growth has been really good. We actually just signed on an investment firm that they help hook up investors with the money people so they can talk to each other. And when they have a tough conversation, like an investment goes south, they will role play it out in Orchestrate first to get used to the language they should use and what the reactions are. And then they make the phone call. And I get a text from them probably once a week that says, God, Orchestrate really saved me on this call. Yeah. So it's amazing how people are using it. They're using it well outside the parameters we even initially thought they'd use it for.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Okay, so how does the book get developed? Like, is that happening at the same time as Orchestrate? Yes. Is it like oh, I'm gonna take this methodology that I'm putting in Orchestrate and I'm also going to put it out in book form.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So Strata is, everybody used to ask me when I would coach them, it's like, well, how do I do this on my own? I mean, is there a way I can just do what you do? And there is. Strata is the way you do that I spell out in the book. And Orchestrate is largely built on Strata. It's built on recognizing signals, understanding triggers, showing people how to anchor and reframe. So Strata is kind of the backbone of Orchestrate and the way it's taught to communicate. And honestly, Orchestrate, when it writes an email, it literally takes into account sentence structure. So where does a certain word fall in the email, and how does that make a difference if it would fall in later?
Yeah.
So it literally looks at every possible aspect of a message when it creates it. And that's what Strata is all about, is thinking about the front to back of any given message.
Well, and Strata, and I want to come back and I want you to walk us through Strata.
Yeah, sure.
Because it is an acronym.
Yep.
But the book and the examples in the book are primarily, maybe exclusively, real world, meaning real in the room, live, person to person interactions, not email where you have, you just have language to worry about.
Yeah, we didn't discuss any type of written. It was always person to person or person to group. Yeah.
Right. So how is that different? Because in a way, you have a lot more information when you're speaking with someone, one-on-one in the room with them.
Right.
Or there's a group of people. That's another great thing that the book is really great at, I think, is how do you accommodate for a group? In a way, you have a lot more information at your disposal, which makes it easier. But you also have a lot more information at your disposal, which makes it tougher.
Yeah.
Like how do you, absent 30 years of experience, filter through all of that and say, okay, that's what I'm going to focus on?
You mean as a person or when I was writing the book?
As a person who's reading and applying the Strata framework. Yeah. It's like, I love this. I was just in a room where, it's a board of directors and I'm making a big proposal that could impact their entire company. And I'm feeling lots of pressure and I'm in my head and I know I need to be paying attention to all these things, but it just seems overwhelming.
Yeah. The thing I didn't put enough emphasis on with Strata is it's a step-by-step. So really, if you want to do this right, I put in exercises on how to get better at each of the things.
Yeah.
But really what I should have said was take it a step at a time. So take a week or 2 weeks and just notice signals for that week.
Right.
Just that. And then once you feel comfortable with that.
I feel like if all you did from that book was focus on signal, it would be life-changing.
It really would.
Yeah.
And, I was just on a podcast the other day and we were talking about body language. And I said, the great thing about signal and Strata is you don't need a doctorate in body language. You just need to notice that it took place.
Right.
Oh, I saw you lean back. Oh, I saw you tapped your pen. That's all you need to know in order to be effective with the techniques we talk about in the book. Just notice. Yeah. Just name it. And
so let's take some time. We've given away the first S in Strata is signal. Talk about Strata, what that, because it seems like there's not only signal in my noticing what's going on for you, but there's also my noticing what's going on for me.
Correct.
Yeah. So walk us through that.
Well, the first part of Strata being signal is everything means something. There's a lot of studies out there that talk about what percentage of communication is body language. I personally agree with it's about 80%. I think 80% of what gets communicated between two people is nonverbal. So if you think about the fact, if somebody told you the instructions on how to make $1 million today, and you only heard 20% of it, the first part and the last part, you'd be like, wait, could you say that again? What was in the middle?
Yeah.
And yet we don't do that in daily conversation. We don't notice the things that happen around us. And like I said, it can be small. I'll give you a great example. I was on the phone with a couple of prospects 4 months ago, and it was a man and a woman, really nice couple. And they weren't related. They were just both of the same company. So the woman had a pair of glasses on that matched her earrings. So the plastic frame of the glasses matched the earrings. It was so cool. I'd never seen anything like it. So she came on, she was telling us how she researched Orchestrate and how they were excited to do business with us. And I said, listen, I appreciate that and I'm thrilled. I just have to say that is the coolest pair of glasses and earrings I've ever seen. Immediately, she started fidgeting with her wedding ring, pulling it off, putting it back on, twirling it. So my signal of being nice triggered whatever the response was. I'm telling you I'm married unconsciously. I'm reminding myself I'm married unconsciously, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But we need to understand, Jeff, that whenever we say or do something, we're triggering a thought or a process in someone else.
Yeah.
And most of the time we don't think that way. I download to you, you download to me, but we don't ever think what our download is causing.
Well, and it requires a certain amount of broader processing capability, right? Because I have to be thinking not only about, did I get through all the information I wanted to provide? Like that's where most of us are stuck most of the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To, oh, how is this landing? And that's a big shift.
It is a big shift. And again, this is why you want to just kind of take it a step at a time and name it. So, you know, Jeff, if I'm talking to you and I come up to the price tag and when I come up to the price tag, I see you look down and tap your pen, you know, most people would start to fidget or lower the price or try to talk through it.
Yeah.
My thought is, and the technique I've taught is name it. Jeff, it looks like I might have triggered something with the price.
Yeah.
Let's poke holes in my theory and what the bill is, and let's work our way through it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're acknowledging the other person's presence, their feelings, what they're thinking, and you're bringing it out into the open. If you don't do that, that very thing you didn't notice is going to be the reason they ghost you. Or they go with a competitor.
Okay, now I'm going to get totally selfish. Because I run into this where, you know, people hire me for a year. It's a significant investment. And, you know, they are, you know, they're running companies. They're used to dealing with large amounts of money, but it's generally more expensive than they think it's going to be.
Right.
And what I typically get from them is something like, not as dramatic as deer in the headlights, but just kind of like, and I don't know how to call that out. Because it's like, if it's not an issue, I feel like, well, should I bring that up? Am I potentially making it an issue if I bring it up? But a lot of times it is an issue. And a lot of times it actually, it's not about me, it's about them. It's about, I'm not sure that I can do the work that would justify this investment.
Right.
Or get the result, or I've tried other things and I failed. Like, why would this work? You know, it's like their story.
Yeah. But
I'd really be curious, and like any thoughts you have on like, how do you navigate that?
Yeah. And it's situation dependent, of course. But the first thing that comes to my head is I would make light of it a little bit. I saw the shift that my price just caused. Tell me what's going through your mind.
Yeah.
Open that door back up again.
Yeah.
Most business owners I run into automatically drop the price.
Yeah.
Or say, if you do it today, I can give you 20% off.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
I don't do that.
Good.
Yeah.
But just name it, put a little bit of humor into it, and just invite them to open up and say it back.
Yeah.
You know, the other question I always ask is, have you done something like this before? Because a lot of times they're going to come up with a failure story.
Right.
Yep. Got burnt by this 2 years ago. Yep.
Right.
Talked to 12 other people and they're cheaper than you.
Right. Right.
That's fair enough. And in a world where you get what you pay for, that's why people come to me.
Okay. So that goes to the third. That was a very nice move there. So
that's a reframe.
S is signal. Yeah. T is trigger. R is reframe. Let's talk about that. And trigger is just like noticing the tapping pencil, the shift in the eyes, body language, what have you. Like what's showing up right now. Yeah,
exactly. The reframe, Jeff, I really think they should teach reframes in school. This to me is one of the most important human traits that we should have, is being able to not change someone's mind, but give them another direction in which to think about something.
Right.
And the best example I can give is you think of somebody that just got diagnosed with something very bad. And the doctor says, well, the mortality on this is 40%. Mm-hmm. Well, the reframe is the survival rate 60%.
Yeah. So,
and I'll give you a great example. We just bought this house a year ago and I desperately want a garage. We don't have one. And they're expensive. And my wife said, well, what do you want the garage for? I said, well, for all the stuff I have here and there, and it would be nice to pull the cars in. And my wife got back to me and she reframed it beautifully. She goes, it doesn't sound like you want a garage. You just want a place to put your stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's right. And she said, so why don't we just get a shed and we'll put that out back for your stuff? And I'm like, that's a great idea. So it's not that you're doing this, it's you're thinking this is kind of the formula for a reframe.
Right.
And if we can do that with people, and we've all experienced it, right? We've always said, or we've said at some point in our lives, wow, I never thought about it that way. You were just victimized by a reframe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So reframing is really important when it comes to helping other people see the exact thing they want to see, but just from a different angle. Above, below, from the side. I get tired when people call it manipulation. It's like, is it manipulation when you put a pair of sunglasses on because you're looking at the same thing? You just need kind of less light. It's not manipulation. I'm not steering you away from what you want to do. I'm giving you another reason to approach what you want to do.
Right. One thing that I do that you might call a reframe, and I'm thinking about it maybe differently as you talk about reframe, is when I'm in that price conversation with a client, I will say something like, what is a result that you could create in the next year through our work together that would make this fee a no-brainer? So it's more about like, oh, if I'm going to take this on, I'm going to take it on for something big.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, would you call that a reframe?
No, I would call that more of a transfer. That would be the second key in STRATA. But I see where you're going with it.
Yeah.
I see where you're going with it. So once you've seen the signal and you've seen what you've triggered, then it's time for that reframe. And that was essentially what I just did with you before. It's, in a world where we get what we pay for.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why you hire me.
Right.
So the one after that is anchor. You can be the best salesperson in the world, but if you don't anchor it with emotion, they're not going to keep it. So you need to find a way to anchor it in and to get them to feel it. And a great way, one of the best companies I've seen do this is Royal Caribbean. They don't talk about how much it costs for a cruise. They don't talk about all the crap you have to go through to get on board and have all your documents ready. All they do is say, here's a cruise, but they never actually show you going to an island. They show you sitting in a fine dining restaurant. They show you having fun with your family on some floaty or some, roller coaster that flies across the ship. They anchor it with emotion. So nobody says, I'm buying the cruise, because you have no idea where you're cruising to.
Right. You're buying the memories.
Experience.
Right. Yeah.
And that is a solid anchor.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to talk about some of my other clients now. So not just me, because I have a number of clients in the healthcare space that are selling different solutions to different aspects of the healthcare problem.
Right.
And, we can talk forever about all of the problems in the healthcare system. And they've certainly been in the headlines. And, but they tend to go really technical. They kind of dive into this is the problem we solve, and here's how we do it, and here's the back end programming, and here's how, this API connects with this vendor, and blah, 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 blah. Like, how would you do something similar I mean, and my mind is flashing to like pharmaceutical ads, right? That are all about that reframe of like, oh, I'm healthy and having fun and I'm twirling a hula hoop now or whatever, right? Like how would they look at this kind of anchor and use that effectively?
Yeah, so it's all going to depend on who you're talking to. You know, for me to anchor specific numbers and dollar figures, I would need to anchor that with a CFO. But with a CEO or a COO, it may be anchoring the process.
Right.
So these numbers are driven by this process that takes place.
Right.
And I think buy-in on the process.
There's a lot of HR people that get involved. So, you know, you think about a vendor who typically they're selling to like a large employer and it's HR and procurement. Like there's the CEO who says, I want to do something innovative. And then there's the HR people who are like, I'm going to lose my job if we screw this up. And they're looking at it through a totally different perspective. For them, it's about risk mitigation.
Yeah. And I will tell you, Jeff, for anchoring, there's a lot of times, like you'll read a couple of examples in the book. It takes me a little bit to figure out what their anchor is. So, you know, there will be times where I'll be talking to somebody and I'll see something that strikes an emotion. And it's like, okay, there's my anchor. That's what I need to attach it to. So broad sweeping anchors are tough to give, but I can say you need to anchor it. You need to give it context and you need to make it permanent for them.
And it's person specific, it sounds like. Every person could have potentially a different anchor.
Correct. And it's funny, we often anchor ourselves. I mean, our marriages are largely anchors because when we dated, we anchored the great feeling of being with that person with being in their presence.
Right.
So, you know, it's anchors can be really powerful. And as the one story I put in my book, I had a salesperson anchor me on walking away. So it can also be very detrimental.
Oh, tell that story. Properly. Yeah. Tell that story. Yeah.
So my wife and I own a timeshare and we have for years and we love it. So we just went on a vacation to Arizona and we thought we're just going to buy up. We're going to get to the next level. We knew how much we wanted to spend and we went in and we're ready to spend it. Well, from the time we got in there, this rep, oh my God, he was super enthusiastic. And I know a lot of sales managers say, you got to go in there with enthusiasm and be motivating. But the more important piece is matching your prospect first.
Right.
So I treated this like an experiment. I thought, I'm going to be really withdrawn. So I stayed withdrawn to see if he would match me and then pull me out, which he never did. So making a long story short, as we went through the process, I was already anchored in making the big sale, but he actually talked me out of it as we went through the process. So I went from being super ready to get out my checkbook to thinking, I just want to get the hell out of here.
Wow. So what was it that he, other than kind of ignoring you, right? What was it that he did? Because it sounded like even though you were a little bit playing a game with him, you were still ready to buy.
I was. Yep.
So what happened that like his actions were so antithetical to your state that it changed your state?
Well, when we were talking, he was good at presenting features to himself. This is what I love about this package. This is what I'd want to do. This is why I like it. But he never anchored it to my wife and I. So everything was about him. And then at one point he brought a sales manager in, which to me signals 100 different things. You can't handle this yourself. You need somebody to close for you. So that just went completely astray. And then the sales manager told his own story of how he came up through the ranks in the company, which I could have cared less about.
Yeah.
So by the time we got to the end of the sales manager's talk, I was looking at my wife and she's looking at me and we're both like, we're done. This is, I just really want to get up and leave. Because even when we talked about the level we wanted to go to, there was a million different conditions and codicils. So I have never seen a company that made it so difficult to do this. And what's fascinating is in the timeshare industry, the close rate is only 20%, 30% at the upper level, and you're paying your audience a couple of $100 to sit in that chair and listen.
Right.
There is no better environment to make a sale. And yet 70% of the time people walk away.
Yeah.
So
did you get a similar timeshare from someone else?
No, what we did was we spent just enough to get another set of points that we wanted. And honestly, the timeshare company is probably looking at that as a win, saying, yeah, wow, we got the sale, but they don't see the money they left on the table. So we're ready to buy again. We're just going to do it from somebody that matches us a little bit better and anchors and transfers us properly.
Yeah. Okay. So we were at Anchor. You mentioned transfer because you labeled something I did earlier as transfer. Tell us about transfer.
So transfer is making the idea theirs. I am a firm believer that nobody buys anything. They just decide it was their idea. Right?
Yeah.
So you're not selling me anything. I just decided this is my idea. And so that's where I'm going to take it. Transfer basically says that your idea is going to stick only as long as you're together with that person. And this is highly evidenced by buyer's remorse.
Absolutely.
As soon as you leave the presence of the salesperson, you start having second thoughts. But if I can transfer it and make it their idea, and then they believe in it so much, they talk about it with other people and defend the idea to others, I've won. So, your idea about picture what this is going to be like, you're transferring that emotion to them and getting them to already think about owning the product.
They're participating in it, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's transfer. And one of the ways I love to do it is, so when you buy this, how would you describe it to your team? And they're like, well, I'd tell them this and this and this and this. Great. Keep doing that.
Yeah.
And the hardest part about this one, Jeff, is you have to leave your ego at the door. Because what happens is when you have a great idea and somebody else acknowledges it's a great idea, people want to brag. I sold it to them. That was my idea, actually. You got to let that go.
Yeah.
If somebody takes your idea and talks about it with someone else, take the win.
Right.
So this is the only one where you really have to leave your need to be recognized outside.
Where that resonates for me too is I may have an idea about what the person in front of me needs as a coach. I've been in a couple hours of conversations with them. I've gotten to know them pretty well. Of course I know exactly what they need.
Right. Yep.
But they may actually see something different.
Correct.
And I have to that's great. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. And tell me what that looks like in your world and how do you describe that to other people? And
what kind of difference will it make for you and your people and your company? And 100%. All right. What's the second?
The last letter is action. So what action do you want them to take? And here's the part that really applies to entrepreneurs is they say that they hate selling. And I get it. I don't know a ton of people who love selling. So the great thing about STRATA is if you do the signal, if you understand the signal, you look at the trigger, you do a good reframe, you create an anchor and transfer it well, action takes place all by itself. There's no such thing as a close in STRATA. People just want to do it based on the conversation that you had. And I think it's important to note this sounds complicated, but STRATA can take place in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
That signal, trigger, reframe, all that can happen in the blink of an eye.
Is the action contextual, kind of depending on, first meeting action could be, I'll take a second meeting. Let's dive into this more. Is that what we're talking about? As opposed to I'm going from, signal to buy in a 5-minute conversation. I would imagine the action
transfer to action right away.
Yeah.
But the great thing about it is that if they don't take action, just revisit where it went off. Maybe it didn't transfer it well. Maybe there was no emotional anchor for them.
Yeah.
And once you go back and cover that base, you come back again.
Yeah. Give me some idea. Do you just revisit that part of the conversation?
Yeah. So if I get to the point in, one of my presentations to a prospect, and let's say we I'm asking them to go ahead and, give me a charge card or whatever. They're like, oh, I'm not really sure. I completely get it. So what part is the uncertainty for you?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay, well, really what it was I just don't think I'm ready for this. Okay, so I'm back to anchor then.
Uh-huh.
Right? So then I want to come back through the process. So I'm going to maybe reframe it, re-anchor it, transfer it again, and then do the action again.
Yeah.
But we so often get in the process. I was talking with a client yesterday and they said, Jake, my first gut reaction, if they give me hesitation to pay, is I drop the price.
Yeah. A lot of people do that. Sure.
Right.
It must be about the amount, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm convinced of one thing, Jeff, and people can feel free to send their hate mail directly to me. That's okay. I'm a firm believer that price is never, ever the problem. Ever.
I agree with that. I agree with that. And I agree with that from experience. I have noticed I have at times lowered my fee or structured it differently or what. I've actually had, I've got a client right now who, I normally start with like a 2-day retreat. And I thought about, well, do I want to package that separately, get people in the door and then kind of, upsell them to the year long. He actually resisted me when I offered him. He was like, no, when I'm in, I'm all in.
Right. So
and a month later, he came back and he signed up for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that was interesting. I was not expecting that at all.
I think we all have those clients like that. I got one last year. I talked with this woman and we spent a half an hour together. And according to my Fathom note taker, I talked 1% of the time.
Wow.
So we got off the call after a half an hour and I said to my wife, there is no way this woman's going to sign on with me because I didn't get to do anything. I didn't get to transfer anchor. I didn't get to do anything. And then within 45 minutes, I got an email. And she said, don't think it wasn't lost on me that all you did was listen and empathize. When do we get started?
Yeah.
It's like,
I think that, people really underestimate that. And so for her, she was going through her own process. She didn't even need you. Yeah.
Right. She didn't need my help.
Yeah. And you being there was some kind of benefit to her, psychology, somatics. It's just like, oh, I can actually just work through this stuff with Jake. And that's of value to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that.
Thank you.
So I want to tell you something that I really love about the book.
Thank you. Go ahead.
It is relatively, it doesn't surprise me that you've done a lot of martial arts.
Thank you.
Because what you've done here is reduced something to really simple, actionable things. And like studying a martial art, or I study, I'm learning saxophone. I will be playing scales my entire life, and I will never master them. Yeah. And that's what this book is. It's like you can go back the second time and get something that you didn't get the first time. You can try to apply it out in the wild and then go back. It's like, oh, I can do this better. And if we can have the discipline to just like keep at it and keep diving deeper, I mean, this is a book that could be a lifetime journey for people. And I know it's been, 30 years for you. So thank you.
I appreciate that.
Out into the world.
Oh, my pleasure. And that's why I put the exercises out there. And honestly, the exercises was the hardest part of the book because I had to think, how did I do this step by step? Right. So the exercises, the worksheet to break something down to strata, the whole 9 yards I think was the hardest part of the book. The writing it was the easiest because it was just all in my head waiting to get out somewhere.
So tell people the full name of the book.
Sure. So the name of the book is Own the Room, How to Communicate to be Seen, Heard, and Respected. If you're watching this live, it's this book right here.
There we go.
It's available on Amazon. You can get it in Kindle format, soft cover or hardcover. And we just finished recording the audiobook.
Oh, good.
So somebody will read the audiobook, and then I'm going to provide commentary on what was the impetus and the source of that chapter and what was going through my head. So people who buy the audiobook will kind of get the director's cut of what was happening.
I will do that. I will do that.
Yeah.
I've got the Kindle version myself, but I'll get the audio as well. And if people want to reach out to you directly, want to dive in deeper on some stuff that we talked about, want to hear more about your personal journey, what's the best way for them to reach you?
They can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Jake Stahl. There's 100 Jake Stahls on LinkedIn. So I'm the one that looks like me. If you're only listening to the audio, I'm the CEO of Orchestrate. So you can find that on there. If you want to find me on social media, I go by Jake the Mind Mechanic, which is on, what am I on? TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. My podcast is on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. My podcast is Own the Room with Jake Stahl. We put out episodes twice a week.
All right. Thank you for being willing
Jeff, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I loved the story of your journey. I think will resonate with a lot of people. And obviously the book and the material you're putting out into the world is incredibly helpful and will be very valuable for the entrepreneurs in our audience. So, Jake, thank you very much. Thanks, everyone, for watching, for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Pick Now podcast.